Act 1. The meat. The desert sun burned like an open furnace at 47 degrees. Marcus Bell gripped his rifle as the convoy rolled down the broken highway, medical supplies secured in the truck behind him. Abandoned checkpoints dotted the landscape like forgotten tombstones. Then, the world exploded. The blast threw Marcus 15 feet through the air. His ears rang with a high-pitched scream that drowned out everything else. Smoke, fire, the metallic taste of blood in his mouth. "Jenkins!" Marcus crawled toward the overturned vehicle. His driver lay motionless, eyes open but seeing nothing. Marcus pulled him close, feeling warm blood soak through his uniform. "Stay with me, man. Stay with me." But Jenkins was already gone. Gunfire cracked through the air. Marcus felt something hot tear through his side, shrapnel from the explosion. His vision blurred. Using every ounce of strength, he dragged himself toward the ruins of an old school building, leaving a trail of blood in the sand behind him. The last thing he remembered was the shade of the broken walls and the sound of his own ragged breathing. "We should leave him," Layla said, her voice cold and flat. The young man standing in her clinic doorway, barely 17, named Rami, shook his head frantically. "Dr. Layla, he'll die. You're a doctor. You took an oath." Layla stared at the unconscious soldier Rami had somehow dragged to her underground clinic. American. The uniform told her everything she needed to know. Another killer, another invader, another person wearing the same flag that had destroyed her entire world. Her hands trembled as she prepared her instruments. The generator flickered, casting dancing shadows across the converted basement that served as her operating room. She'd barely had proper medical equipment even before the war. Now she made do with whatever she could find or trade for. "Fine," she said through clenched teeth, "but I'm doing this for my conscience, not for him." She worked in silence, her movements sharp and angry. Each piece of shrapnel she pulled from his flesh felt like an accusation. His dog tags caught the light. Bell, Marcus, O positive. On her desk sat a faded photograph of a young man with kind eyes and a warm smile. Her brother, Arash, who would never smile again. Because of soldiers just like this one. 3 days passed before Marcus opened his eyes. His first thought was that he'd died and gone somewhere strange. The ceiling above him was cracked concrete. Medical equipment surrounded him, old, worn, but functional. And standing in the doorway was a woman with exhausted dark eyes and a face set in stone. "Where am I?" His voice came out as a croak. "My clinic," Layla answered, not moving closer. "You're lucky my assistant found you. Or maybe unlucky, depending on how you look at it." Marcus tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through his side like lightning. "My unit, I need to contact them. Your radio was destroyed. And you're not going anywhere." Layla crossed her arms. "There's a patrol outside. If they see you, they'll assume we're hiding insurgents and burn this place to the ground. Everyone here will die because of you." The words hung in the air like smoke. Marcus looked at her, really looked at her for the first time. She was young, maybe late 20s. Beautiful in a way that seemed almost cruel given their circumstances. But her eyes held something he recognized immediately. The same haunted look he saw in his own mirror every morning. "How long do I need to stay?" he asked quietly. "Until it's safe. Could be days. Could be weeks." She turned to leave, then paused. "And if anyone discovers I saved an American soldier, they'll call me a traitor and kill me. So congratulations, Sergeant Bell. We're both prisoners now." The door closed behind her with a soft click. Marcus lay back and stared at the ceiling, understanding with crystal clarity that his survival was now tied to the woman who clearly wished he'd died in that desert. His unit thought he was dead. No rescue was coming, and somewhere out there, the war continued without him. He thought about Jenkins, about how quickly life could end, about his best friend Devante, who died in his arms 6 months ago in another ambush just like this one, about all the people he'd failed to save. And now, he was trapped in an underground clinic with a doctor who hated everything he represented. Marcus closed his eyes and tried not to think about how much worse things could get. But in the darkness behind his eyelids, all he could see was Layla's face, hard and unforgiving, yet somehow still full of a desperate kind of humanity. She'd saved his life, even though she hated him for existing. That meant something. It had to mean something. Outside, the call to prayer echoed across the ruined city. Inside, two people who should have been enemies began the slow, painful process of learning to survive together. Marcus touched his bandaged side, feeling where she'd stitched him back together with steady, skilled hands. Hands that had saved countless lives in this war-torn city. Hands that belonged to someone just trying to heal in a world designed for breaking. Neither of them knew it yet, but in that cramped underground clinic, surrounded by the machinery of survival and the ghosts of everyone they'd lost, something impossible had begun. Not love, not yet, but maybe the first fragile seed of it, buried deep in hostile soil, waiting to see if it could somehow find the strength to grow. Act 2, the pursuit. 1 week became 2. Marcus learned the rhythm of the clinic like a soldier learns the rhythm of war, by paying attention to what kept you alive. Layla arrived at dawn. She checked on patients, mostly civilians caught between government forces and rebel fighters. She rationed supplies like a miser because there was never enough, and she avoided eye contact with Marcus whenever possible. But avoidance became harder when survival required cooperation. "Help me move this," Layla said one morning, gesturing to a heavy crate of medical supplies. Her voice was purely transactional, like she was giving orders to a piece of equipment. Marcus lifted one end while she took the other. Their hands didn't touch, but he noticed how thin she'd become, how the war had carved away everything soft and left only sharp angles and harder edges. "You should eat more," he said without thinking. "I eat what's available, same as everyone else." Her response was ice. They developed a language of necessity. Water for information, bandage changes for silence. He taught her how to spot military patrol patterns. She taught him basic Arabic phrases, just enough to avoid getting shot if he ran into locals. "What does this mean?" Marcus asked, pointing to words she'd written on a scrap of paper. "Please don't shoot me, I'm an idiot." She didn't smile, but something flickered in her eyes that might have been the ghost of humor. "That's not what it says. It says, I am a friend, but my version is more accurate." Despite everything, Marcus almost laughed. Almost. The real shift happened on a night when the power went out during an emergency. A little girl had been brought in, maybe 7 years old, injured by an unexploded bomb she'd found while playing. Layla worked by flashlight, and Marcus held it steady, watching her hands move with impossible precision in the dim light. She worked for 3 hours straight, never wavered, never doubted herself. The girl survived. When it was over, Layla stripped off her bloody gloves and walked to the sink. Her hands were shaking now, the adrenaline fading and leaving exhaustion in its wake. "You're incredible," Marcus said quietly. Layla turned to look at him, and for the first time, he saw past her armor to the bone-deep weariness underneath. "I learned on victims of your airstrikes," she said, but there was less venom in it than before, just sadness. Marcus didn't know what to say to that, so he said nothing. Some truths were too heavy for words. Sleep didn't come easy for Marcus anymore. It never had, not since Devante died. The nightmares came like clockwork, explosions, blood, friends dying in slow motion while he stood frozen and useless. On the 7th night, he gave up trying and climbed the narrow stairs to the building's roof. The city spread out before him in ruins and shadows, broken but somehow still breathing. The call to prayer echoed from a distant mosque, haunting and beautiful. "You shouldn't be up here." Marcus turned to find Layla standing behind him, a cigarette between her fingers. The sight surprised him. She seemed too disciplined for vices. "Didn't know you smoked," he said. "There are a lot of things you don't know about me." She lit the cigarette and took a long drag. "You can't sleep?" "Not really. You?" "Not in 2 years." She moved to the edge of the roof but didn't sit, just stood there like she was waiting for something that would never come. Marcus stayed quiet, giving her space. Below them, a patrol passed by. Soldiers just like him, doing their jobs, carrying out orders. He wondered if any of them ever questioned what they were fighting for, or if they just kept moving forward because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant feeling. "What's the tattoo?" Layla asked suddenly, nodding toward his exposed forearm. Marcus looked down at the coordinates inked into his skin. He'd almost forgotten they were there. "Location where my best friend died. Devante. IED got him 6 months ago. I was standing right next to him. Should have been me instead." "Why?" "Because he had a wife, a daughter, people who needed him." Marcus swallowed hard. I've got nobody." Layla was quiet for a long moment. Then she held up her wrist, showing him an old watch, a man's watch, too large for her small wrist. "My brother, Arash," she said. "Airstrike. I couldn't identify his body, just his watch. I'd given it to him for his birthday 2 months before." The words hung between them like a bridge built from shared pain. "I'm sorry," Marcus said, knowing the words were inadequate. "Everyone's sorry. Sorry doesn't bring anyone back." But her voice wasn't angry anymore, just tired, so terribly tired. They sat in silence as the sun set, painting the ruins in shades of gold and blood red. Two people who should have been enemies, connected by the universal language of loss. Marcus didn't know when exactly everything changed. Maybe it was that moment. Maybe it had been changing all along, so slowly that neither of them noticed until it was too late to stop. "You're sure about this?" Marcus asked, adjusting the civilian clothes Layla had found for him, loose pants and a long shirt that hid his build. "No, but we need supplies, and I can't carry everything alone." Layla wrapped a scarf around his neck, covering the lower half of his face. "Keep your head down. Don't talk. If anyone asks, you're my cousin from the north. You were injured in a bombing and can't speak." "That's convenient. That's believable. Now come on." The market was chaos. People haggling over vegetables, children running between stalls, merchants calling out prices in rapid Arabic that Marcus couldn't follow. He stayed close to Layla, watching her navigate the crowd with practiced ease. She knew everyone, greeted them warmly, haggled with a smile that Marcus had never seen her use in the clinic. This was her world. He was just an intruder in it. They were loading supplies into bags when soldiers appeared, a patrol stopping people at random, checking identification. Marcus felt his pulse spike, but Layla's hand found his arm, squeezing once in warning. "Papers!" the soldier demanded in Arabic. Layla produced hers smoothly and gestured to Marcus. She spoke rapidly, explaining that he was her cousin, that he'd been injured and couldn't speak, that they were just buying supplies for their family. The soldier looked Marcus over with suspicious eyes. He looked strong for someone who's injured. Marcus kept his expression blank, fighting every instinct that screamed at him to run or fight. Layla's fingers tightened on his arm. "He's recovering," she said calmly. "The injury was to his throat. Shrapnel." The soldier studied them for what felt like an eternity. Then he waved them through with a grunt of dismissal. They walked away at a normal pace, not hurrying, not looking back. It wasn't until they were 3 blocks away that Layla finally exhaled. "That was too close," she said. "You were incredible. Where'd you learn to lie like that?" "You learn a lot of things when survival depends on it." She glanced at him and something in her expression had softened. "You did well too. I almost believed you were mute. Years of following orders. I'm good at keeping my mouth shut when necessary." They continued walking, and their hands brushed accidentally as they maneuvered through the narrow street. Neither pulled away immediately. The touch lasted maybe 2 seconds longer than it needed to. A child ran past them, chasing a ball. She stopped and looked up at Marcus and Layla with curious eyes. "Are you married?" she asked innocently in Arabic. Layla tensed. "No," she said quickly, too quickly. The child shrugged and ran off, leaving an awkward silence in her wake. Marcus wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck in his throat. What could he say? That despite everything, despite the war and the hate and all the reasons they should never have met, he found himself looking forward to seeing her face every morning. That somewhere along the way, she'd stopped being the enemy and started being... what? A friend? Something more? That was insane, impossible. And yet... "We should get back," Layla said, her voice carefully neutral. "Yeah, we should." But as they walked side by side through the ruined streets, Marcus caught her smiling at something. Just a small, private smile that disappeared almost as quickly as it came. And he realized with a jolt of recognition that whatever was happening between them, it wasn't just happening to him. She felt it too. That made it both better and so much worse. Act 3. The complication. The woman didn't make it. Layla worked for 2 hours trying to save her, a mother of 3 who'd been in the wrong place when a bomb went off. But sometimes trying wasn't enough. Sometimes the universe decided that one person's story was over, and there was nothing anyone could do about it. Marcus found Layla in the supply closet afterward, sitting on the floor with her knees pulled to her chest. Her hands were still stained with blood. She wasn't crying, not exactly, but her whole body shook with the effort of holding everything inside. He didn't say anything, didn't ask if she was okay, because she obviously wasn't. He just lowered himself to the floor beside her and sat there in the darkness, offering the only thing he could presence. "I'm so tired," Layla whispered. "I'm so tired of death, of losing people, of not being enough." "You are enough," Marcus said quietly. "You saved that little girl last week. You save people every day. But not her. Not the ones who needed me most." Her voice cracked. "Her children are orphans now, and I couldn't. She broke then, completely. Her face crumpled, and the tears came like a dam breaking. Marcus pulled her close without thinking, wrapping his arms around her while she sobbed into his chest. He could feel her grief like a physical thing, could feel every loss she'd accumulated being poured out in this one moment. He pressed his lips to her forehead, just a gentle touch meant to comfort. But when she looked up at him, something shifted. Their faces were inches apart. Her eyes were red from crying, but somehow more beautiful than anything he'd ever seen. He could feel her breath against his skin, could see the exact moment when they both stopped thinking and just felt. The kiss was desperate, not gentle or romantic, more like two people drowning and finding each other in the dark. It tasted like salt and smoke, and something Marcus couldn't name but needed more than air. When they broke apart, reality crashed back in like cold water. "This can't happen," Layla said, pulling away. Her voice was firm, but her hands were still gripping his shirt. "I know," Marcus agreed, but neither of them moved. "We can't. This is..." She couldn't seem to finish any sentence. Finally, she just pressed her forehead against his chest and whispered, "What are we doing?" "I don't know, but I don't want to stop." She laughed, a broken, desperate sound. "That's the problem. Neither do I." The meeting happened 3 days later. Kareem was a resistance leader, a man who'd fought alongside Layla's brother Arash before his death. He'd been keeping an eye on Layla, making sure she stayed safe and loyal to the cause. But lately, he'd noticed changes. Her absences, her distraction, the way she seemed to be protecting something, or someone. "We need your clinic for staging," Kareem said, sitting across from Layla in a cafe that served as a front for resistance operations. "There's an attack planned on the coalition base. We need a safe location nearby." "No," Layla said immediately. "My clinic is neutral ground. I treat anyone who comes through those doors. Your clinic serves the people, our people, the ones being killed by soldiers like the ones you'd be helping us fight." Kareem's eyes narrowed. "Arash died fighting these invaders. Don't dishonor his memory by protecting cowards." "I'm protecting patients. That's what doctors do." "And what would Arash say about that? About his sister refusing to help the resistance?" The words hit like a physical blow. Layla looked away, her jaw tight. "My brother wouldn't want me to turn my clinic into a target. Your brother would want you to choose a side." Kareem stood to leave. "Hey, think carefully about where your loyalties lie, doctor. People are watching." Back at the clinic, Marcus was dealing with his own pressure. His commanding officer, Lieutenant Cole, had made contact through an intermediary, a message sent through encrypted channels that Marcus had managed to access using the clinic's old radio equipment. "Bell, if you're alive, respond. We have you listed as KIA. Need confirmation of status. If hostile forces are holding you, indicate duress code." Marcus stared at the message for a long time. All he had to do was respond. Tell them he was alive. They'd extract him within 24 hours. He could go back to his unit, back to following orders, back to a world that made sense. But then he thought about Layla, about leaving her here alone to face whatever consequences came from hiding him, about never seeing her face again, never hearing her rare laugh, never knowing if she was safe. He deleted the message without responding. That night, he told her he was leaving. "It's for the best," he said, not quite meeting her eyes. "You'll be safer without me here, and I need to get back to my unit." "Of course," Layla said, her voice carefully neutral. "That makes sense." They avoided each other for 2 days after that. The clinic felt different, emptier somehow, even though nothing physical had changed. Marcus packed his few belongings. Layla threw herself into her work with almost manic focus. Neither slept well. On the second night, Marcus lay on his cot staring at the ceiling, thinking about Devante, about Jenkins, about all the people he'd watched die. And for the first time in years, he wondered if maybe staying alive wasn't the same thing as actually living. Marcus found Layla on the roof at midnight. She was standing at the edge again, looking out over the city like she could see something he couldn't. "I lied," he said. She turned surprised. "About what?" "About leaving. I don't want to go." The words came out in a rush. "After Devante died, I stopped feeling anything. It was easier that way, safer. But you made me feel again. And I hate it, because now I know exactly what I'm losing when I walk away. And I don't know if I can do it." Layla's expression cracked, showing the hurt underneath. "You can't stay here, Marcus. We both know that. This isn't real life. This is just a pause, a moment outside of time. But eventually the world comes back, and when it does, we'll be on opposite sides again." "I know." He moved closer to her. "But right now, in this moment, we're not. Right now, we're just two people who found each other in the worst possible place at the worst possible time. And I don't want to waste whatever time we have left pretending that doesn't matter." "I wanted to hate you," Layla whispered. "It was so much easier when I could just hate you for what you represent. But now I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know how I can care about someone who wears that uniform, someone whose country destroyed mine. I'm not my uniform, and you're not this war." Marcus reached out, gently taking her hand. "We're just us, whatever that means." They stood there for a long moment, hands joined, separated from the world below by nothing more than a few feet of elevation and the darkness that hid them from watching eyes. Then, Layla pulled him close and kissed him, like she was trying to memorize the taste of him, like she knew this moment couldn't last but was determined to live it anyway. They made their way down to the clinic in silence, hands still clasped together. What happened next was inevitable, not because of passion or lust, but because of something deeper, a recognition, a choosing of each other despite every reason not to. They made love slowly, tenderly, each touch an act of defiance against the war that wanted to keep them apart. It wasn't perfect or romantic in the way movies made it seem. It was real, awkward and sweet and sad all at once. Two broken people finding comfort in each other, creating something beautiful in a place designed for destruction. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the dark, and for the first time since the war began, Marcus felt something like peace. "I don't know what happens next," Layla said quietly. "Neither do I, but we'll figure it out." He meant it when he said it. They both did. They had no way of knowing that the worst was yet to come. Act 4. The crisis. Marcus was asleep when Layla made the discovery. She hadn't meant to snoop, or maybe she had. Maybe some part of her had been looking for a reason to push him away, to make the leaving easier when it inevitably came. She'd been looking through his jacket for his dog tags, just to hold them, to memorize the metal shape of his name so she'd have something to remember him by. Instead, she found a folded piece of paper tucked into an inner pocket. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. Mission report, Bravo Company. Date, March 14th, 2023. Grid coordinates followed, numbers that were burned into Layla's memory like a brand, because they were the coordinates of the neighborhood where Arash had died, where her brother had been turned into nothing more than collateral damage in someone's war. She read the report 3 times, hoping she was wrong, hoping she'd misunderstood. But the words didn't change. Airstrike authorized on suspected weapons depot. Coordinates called in by SGT Marcus Bell. Mission successful. High-value target eliminated. Civilian casualties estimated 15 to 20. Arash had been one of those numbers, one of those casualties. Not a person with dreams and hopes and a sister who loved him. Just a statistic in Marcus's mission report. The man she loved had killed her brother. Layla sat on the floor, the paper crumpling in her grip, and tried to breathe through the wave of betrayal and grief and rage that threatened to drown her. She'd saved him, healed him, opened her heart to him, and he'd been the one to call in the strike that murdered her family. Dawn broke cold and gray. Marcus woke to find Layla standing over him, her face a mask of fury and pain. In her hand was the mission report, and in her other hand, a scalpel. "You killed him," she said, her voice shaking. "You killed Arash." Marcus's eyes went to the report, and his face drained of color. "Layla, I didn't know. You called in the strike." She was shaking now, the scalpel trembling in her grip. "March 14th, 2023, grid coordinates 33 that are 44 3 hours today. That was my brother's neighborhood. That was where he was documenting." She stopped abruptly, but Marcus had already put the pieces together. "What was he documenting?" Marcus asked quietly. "It doesn't matter what he was documenting. You killed him." Tears streamed down her face. "I held his watch because there wasn't enough left of him to bury. Do you understand that? There wasn't enough left." Marcus stood slowly, carefully, keeping his hands visible. "Layla, please listen to me. I need you to listen. I don't want to hear your excuses. It's not an excuse. It's the truth." He took a shaky breath. "That mission, it was supposed to be a weapons depot. Intelligence said it was empty of civilians. A high-value target was supposed to be there. When we got the coordinates, we were told..." His voice broke. "We were told it was clear." "But it wasn't clear. Arash was there. Children were there." "I know." Marcus's face twisted with anguish. "When the strike happened and we got reports of civilian casualties, I tried to abort. I tried to stop it. But Cole, Lieutenant Cole, he overrode me. He said the target was too important, that some collateral damage was acceptable." "Collateral damage," Layla repeated bitterly. "That's what my brother was to you. Collateral damage." "No, that's what he was to Cole, to the military, to the system, but not to me." Marcus was openly crying now. "I've lived with that mission for 2 years, Layla. Every day, every night. The faces I saw in the aftermath reports, the knowledge that I called in those coordinates even though something felt wrong. I can't take it back. I can't bring any of them back. And I would give anything to undo what happened." Layla lowered the scalpel, but her face remained hard. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't know. I swear to you, I didn't know your brother was one of the casualties. There were so many numbers, so many reports. They didn't give us names, just statistics. And by the time I realized what had really happened, I was already..." He stopped himself. "Already what?" "Already in love with you," Marcus finished quietly. "And I was terrified that if you knew, you'd look at me exactly the way you're looking at me now." The silence stretched between them like a canyon. Finally, Layla spoke. "Why did you have that report? Why keep it?" Marcus moved to his bag and pulled out a small drive. "Because I've been investigating Cole. The mission that killed Arash. It wasn't about insurgents or weapons depots. It was a cover-up." "What are you talking about?" "Cole's been running Black Ops missions off the books, smuggling weapons to various factions to keep the conflict going. It keeps defense contracts profitable, keeps money flowing." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Your brother? What was he documenting? Before he died?" Layla's eyes widened with sudden understanding. "He was a photographer. He'd been taking pictures of supply movements. He said something wasn't right, that the trucks were going to the wrong places. He was going to report it to journalists. And that's why he was targeted? Not because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, but because he had evidence of what Cole was doing." Marcus held up the drive. "I've been collecting proof for months, encrypted files, shipment logs, offshore accounts, everything that shows Cole's been playing both sides of this war. Why haven't you exposed him? Because if I surface, Cole will have me killed and blame it on insurgents, and if this gets out without enough proof, both governments will bury it to avoid scandal. They'll discredit me, discredit you, and everything we've suffered will be for nothing." Layla stared at him, her mind racing through the implications. "So, what are you saying?" "I'm saying the enemy isn't me. It's not even the war. It's people like Cole who profit from suffering, who see people like Arash as acceptable losses." Marcus's voice hardened. "I can't bring your brother back, but I can make sure Cole doesn't kill anyone else's brother. I'm going to burn his entire operation to the ground, with or without you." "Get out," Layla said. "Layla, get out of my clinic. Get out of my sight. I can't look at you right now." Marcus packed his things in silence. At the door, he paused. "I understand if you hate me. I hate myself for what happened. But know this. I'm going to finish what Arash started. I'm going to make sure his death means something. Then he was gone, and Layla was alone with Arash's watch, and the truth that was somehow both better and worse than she'd imagined. The man she loved hadn't killed her brother out of malice or cruelty. He'd killed him because he was following orders in a system designed to make murder acceptable. And somehow, that made it even harder to bear. Act 5. The resolution. Layla sat alone in the clinic for 3 days, Arash's photograph in her hands. She wanted to hate Marcus. She tried to hate him. It would be so much simpler if she could just reduce him to the uniform he wore, the orders he followed, the coordinates he called in. But she kept remembering other things, the way he held the flashlight steady while she saved that little girl, the nightmares that woke him screaming, the guilt written across his face every time he talked about Devante, the gentleness of his hands when he touched her. "I don't know what to do," she whispered to Arash's picture. "Tell me what to do." But her brother's frozen smile offered no answers. Rami found her on the 3rd day, sitting in the same position. "Dr. Layla, you haven't eaten." "I'm not hungry." "You're going to make yourself sick." The boy sat beside her. "Is it about the American?" Layla laughed bitterly. "Everything's about the American. My father says Americans are all the same, all killers." Rami paused. "But Marcus helped us get supplies. He made you smile. I hadn't seen you smile in a long time." "It's not that simple." "Arash wouldn't want you to suffer," Rami said quietly. "When he died, he made me promise to take care of you. He said you had the biggest heart of anyone he knew. He'd want you to use it, not close it off." The words broke something open in Layla's chest. Tears came again, cleansing this time, not destroying. Arash would want the truth, not revenge, not more suffering, just truth. And Marcus was trying to give her that. She stood up, decision crystallizing. "Rami, I need you to get a message to Marcus. Can you do that?" The boy nodded eagerly. "What should I tell him?" "Tell him I choose justice over hate. Tell him I'll help him fight." The abandoned border outpost had once been a hospital. Now it served as Cole's field office, a perfect symbol of how he'd twisted everything good into something corrupt. Marcus and Layla approached at midnight, moving through shadows like ghosts. She led the way. She knew this building had worked here before the war turned it into something else. "Security will be tight," Marcus whispered. "Cole knows I'm hunting him." "Then we'll have to be smarter than his security." Layla pointed to a service entrance. Medical staff used to use that entrance for shift changes. If they haven't changed the locks. They hadn't. Inside, the building was a maze of offices and equipment. Marcus worked quickly, hacking into Cole's computer system while Layla stood guard. Her hands were sweating. She'd never done anything like this before, never been the kind of person who broke into buildings and stole classified information. But then again, she'd never been the kind of person who fell in love with an enemy soldier either. The war had changed everyone. "Got it," Marcus breathed. "Shipment logs, financial records, everything. This is enough to..." Footsteps echoed in the hallway. They froze. Marcus grabbed the drive and shoved it into his pocket. Layla's hand found his, squeezing tight. "We need to move, now." They ran. Cole's men appeared from multiple directions, armed, trained, and very angry. Gunfire erupted. Marcus returned fire, using his body to shield Layla as they ducked behind cover. "I can't believe I'm being shot at," Layla gasped. "Welcome to my world," Marcus replied grimly. A bullet caught him in the shoulder. He went down hard, and Layla's medical training kicked in immediately. She dragged him behind a supply crate, pressing her hands to the wound. "You're not dying on me, soldier," she said fiercely. "Wasn't planning on it." He handed her his weapon. "You know how to use this?" "No." "Point and pull the trigger, and pray." Layla had never held a gun before, had spent her entire life saving people, not hurting them. But as more men closed in, she aimed the weapon with shaking hands and fired. The recoil nearly knocked her over. The shot went wide, but it bought them seconds. "The supply depot," Marcus groaned. "Your medical supplies, ethanol, oxygen tanks. We can rig an explosion." They worked together. Marcus's tactical knowledge and Layla's understanding of chemistry creating an improvised bomb. It wasn't elegant, but it didn't need to be. The explosion rocked the building. In the chaos, they escaped into the night, Marcus bleeding and Layla half carrying him, the evidence drive pressed safely against his chest. They'd done it. They'd actually done it. 6 months later, the International Tribunal in Geneva was colder than Layla had expected. She sat in the witness box translating her testimony while lawyers took notes and judges listened with impassive faces. She told them about the clinic, about the patients, about the night Arash died and the years she spent trying to heal what was broken. Marcus testified too, his uniform replaced with civilian clothes, his shoulders still healing, but his voice steady. He laid out Cole's operation piece by piece, backing every claim with documentation from the stolen files. Cole watched from the defendant's table, his face a mask of rage and disbelief. He'd thought he was untouchable. They all did, until they weren't. The verdict came down 3 weeks later. Guilty on all counts. The scandal forced policy changes, oversight reforms, investigations into similar operations. It wouldn't bring anyone back, but it might prevent future deaths. It was something. It had to be enough. After the trial, Marcus and Layla met at a cafe, neutral ground, chosen carefully by mutual agreement. They sat across from each other like strangers who'd once shared something profound. "I can't ask you to forgive me," Marcus said quietly. "I can't yet," Layla replied honestly. "Maybe I never will. The wound is too deep, but..." She paused, searching for words. "I don't hate you. And that's something. That's more than I thought possible." "What will you do now?" "Rebuild the clinic. Arash's name will be on a memorial plaque. I'm going to train new doctors, teach them to heal instead of hurt." She met his eyes. "What about you?" "Honorable discharge came through. I'm joining a veterans advocacy group. We expose war crimes, help soldiers deal with PTSD, try to break the cycle." He smiled sadly. Devante would have liked that, making sure the suffering means something. They drank their coffee in silence, not comfortable but not hostile either. Just two people who'd been through hell together and survived, changed by the experience in ways they were still discovering. "I think about that little girl sometimes," Layla said. "The one you helped me save. She's in school now." "Yeah?" Marcus's face softened. "That's good. That's really good. Devante would have liked that too." They sat there a while longer, neither willing to be the first to leave. Because despite everything, despite the war and the loss and the betrayal and the pain, they'd been important to each other, had seen each other's humanity when the world demanded they see only enemies. That mattered. It had to matter. 1 year later, Marcus visited the clinic. It had been rebuilt, larger now, better equipped. Arash's name was engraved on a bronze plaque near the entrance, along with the names of other locals who died in the war. A memorial, but also a promise. Their deaths would not be forgotten. Layla was training a group of young doctors when Marcus arrived. She looked healthier now. The exhaustion had faded from her eyes, replaced by something that might have been hope. "Marcus," she said, surprised but not unhappy, "I didn't know you were coming. I was in the region for a conference, thought I'd stop by." He looked around at the clinic, at the patients being treated, at the new life being built from the ruins. "This is incredible. It's what Arash would have wanted." She gestured to her students. "Give me 5 minutes?" They had tea in her office, the same office where her brother's photograph still sat, though now it was surrounded by other photos. Children she'd saved, families she'd helped, proof that healing was possible, even here. "You've done amazing work," Marcus said. "So have you. I read about the legislation your group pushed through. New oversight for military operations, better mental health support for veterans. That's going to save lives." "We're trying. Still a long way to go." He paused. "I think about that night a lot. On the roof, before everything fell apart. Do you ever?" "All the time," Layla admitted. "I think about who we were then, who we could have been in a different world." "Do you regret it? Any of it?" She considered the question seriously. "I regret the circumstances. I regret the war that brought us together and the violence that tore us apart. But I don't regret knowing you. Even with all the pain, you gave me something I'd lost, the ability to see beyond hate, to choose something better." Marcus's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You gave me that too. You made me want to be someone worth the second chance you gave me." They sat in comfortable silence, drinking tea while the clinic bustled around them. Two people who'd loved each other in impossible circumstances, who'd hurt each other in unforgivable ways, and who'd somehow found their way to something like peace. "I should go," Marcus said finally. "Long flight back." "Of course." Layla walked him to the door. "Take care of yourself, Marcus Bell." "You too, Layla." He paused at the threshold. "For what it's worth, I'll carry you with me, always. You and Arash and Devante and everyone we lost. I'll make sure their memories push me to be better." "That's all any of us can do," she said softly. They didn't hug, didn't kiss goodbye. The wounds were still too fresh, might always be too fresh. But they smiled at each other, genuine smiles full of bittersweet recognition. Then Marcus walked away across the rebuilt market square, past vendors selling vegetables and children playing soccer, through a neighborhood that was slowly, painfully learning how to live again. Layla watched him go until he disappeared into the crowd. Then she returned to her students, to her patients, to the work of healing that would fill the rest of her days. She didn't love him anymore, not the way she had in those stolen moments in the underground clinic. But she didn't hate him either, and in a world that had taught her nothing but hate, that felt like its own kind of victory. That night, she wrote in her journal, a habit she'd taken up in therapy. Today, Marcus visited. It hurt less than I expected. Maybe that's growth, or maybe I'm just numb to new pain. But I realized something. Our story doesn't have a happy ending, but it has an honest one. We found each other in hell. We hurt each other. We helped each other. And now we're both trying to make the world a little less hellish for others. Arash would say that's the point, not grand gestures or perfect love stories, but ordinary people choosing to be kind when the world makes it hard, choosing to heal instead of harm, choosing hope over hate, even when hate feels easier. I choose hope. Every day I choose it, not because the wounds are healed, but because the alternative is surrendering to the darkness, and I've had enough of darkness for one lifetime. She closed the journal and looked at her brother's photograph. "I'm trying, Arash. We're all trying." Outside, the call to prayer echoed across the city. The same city that had been broken and rebuilt 100 times. The same city that refused to die, no matter how hard the war tried to kill it. And in that refusal, in that stubborn insistence on survival, there was something beautiful. There was love, not romantic or simple, but the harder kind. The kind that sees all the damage and all the pain and all the impossible circumstances and chooses to keep going anyway. That was the real ending to their story. Not the kiss or the goodbye, but the choice to wake up every morning and build something better from the ruins. It wasn't the ending either of them would have chosen, but it was the one they had earned. And somehow, that made it worth it.